I was teaching at the Trout Unlimited fly fishing school last week, and I'd say the number one question I was asked by the beginners, I mean, 80% of the questions was that, or 80% of the questions were this one question, and it was, what flies should I get? And I've given up trying to defer and say, well, you have to look at what bugs are there and going through the whole theory thing. Okay, there's just certain bugs you need to get. Okay, so get a pencil and paper, and what gear do you really need to get started on this? So this is for starters. Okay, I'm not talking to all you advanced people. Take a breath, listen to what I have to say, but have a beverage while I'm talking. So first thing is, you don't need a lot of gear. Okay, you can you'll get a lot of gear over time, and that's part of the fun, is buying more and more tools and things. But basically, to get started, and what we start our students off with is we give them a lanyard, just because we don't know what they're going to be wearing, okay? But we just give them a lanyard. But basically, all you need is whatever. We give them a zinger. You need a zinger, okay? Just get a zinger. Plus, they're just like the coolest things. We have what's called a nipper, and if you're really tight on money, you can just use a nail clipper. But we give them a nipper with, it has a little nail nut tool on one side and a file on this side, and that's for sharpening hooks, which is actually a very important thing. I need to do a video on that. But we give them the zinger, and we give them a lanyard, just because, well, what's life now without a lanyard, right? So, so they have this to hang around their neck, and then they can, the tools are very easily accessible. Okay, you need to have it on this thing, the zinger, because you're going to be using this far away from yourself, like if you're trying to take a hook out of a fish or something like that. So hemostats, very inexpensive, and don't get one of those $30, $40 nippers. Just get an inexpensive one. You'll probably lose it before anything else. So that's all you need. That's all the tools you need. Don't get any more than that. All right. The one other tool you may need is some kind of floatant, okay? I tend to use the liquid kind. Loon makes some. Gink is the classic. This is an old bottle that I fill up with some other stuff, but this is the old Scientific Anglers. It's a Scientific Anglers bottle, but I have a special holder for it. But this stuff is used for putting on your dry flies. It's like basically like a Vaseline kind of thing, and it sort of makes them a little bit waterproof. Okay, so that's hemostats, nipper, zinger, and some kind of floatant. Okay. Now beyond that, you need some flies, some basic flies. And you need some basically nymphs, dry flies, and a few streamers. Okay, so let's just talk about, I got a kit online that was pretty inexpensive. And I haven't seen this particular one in a long time. And I've kind of changed it a little bit, but I'm going to talk about some of the things that you need. So let's talk about nymphs. And a nymph is something that goes, it mimics the invertebrates. After they're an egg, they hatch into a nymph, which basically eats the stuff on the bottom. And these tumble down underneath the water, okay? And I say get some hare's ear nymphs and get them, size 10 and 12. Get like a few of each, 10s and 12s, and maybe 14s. Here's some more nymphs. These are prince nymphs here. You can get those, but I would just stick with the hare's ear nymphs for now. That'll usually do it, okay? You can always add more and more stuff. The other kind of underwater thing you might want to get is what's called a pheasant tail, which is very, very similar to these guys here, okay? Just a little bit different shape. So that's all the nymphs you need to get. Just to get started, okay? Then there's 100 other ones you can get, okay? But pretty much a hare's ear nymph's going to take care of it. There's certain flies that don't mimic anything in particular, but cover a lot of territory. The next thing is dry flies. What do you need for dry flies? And again, I would keep them in the 10, 12, and 14 range. That's about all you're going to need. And dry flies, I would get some caddis flies. I don't know if this will focus or not. Here. Some caddis flies. Again, in those 3 sizes. I would also get some, for dry flies, I would get some Adam's flies, which, do I even have an Adam here? Here's a kind of an Adam. This is almost an Adam, but it looks kind of like this, okay? I would get a few sizes of this. This is a blue wing olive, and that's real good in the springtime. And then finally, for fun, I would get like a royal coachman, which has like a little red body on it, okay? Again, stick with your basically 10, 12, 14. In addition to dry flies, you also need what are called terrestrials. And I would get some kind of ant pattern. This is like got giant legs. This is maybe bigger than I think I would use. But an ant pattern of some sort, or spider. Sometimes they're called spiders. Beyond that, all else you need are some woolly buggers. And the 2 I would get the most of is the olive woolly bugger and a black woolly bugger. And you don't need these to be super big either. These can be anywhere from 6 to 8. Okay, 6, 8, maybe a 4. 4, 6, and 8, something like that. Okay, and that's going to take care of a lot of stuff. So in the beginning, you're going to be, you're not going to be the greatest caster in the world right away. But those flies will get you fish, okay? They're not going to be the biggest fish. They're not going to be the most selective fish. But with those flies and that minimal amount of equipment, you can get out there and you can fish for hours and hours. Then when you go somewhere that's not in your regular territory, you stop in at a fly shop, and I always buy a few flies. Whenever I go into a fly shop, I always buy a few. First, I talk to the people. I say, I don't know what's going on here. They live to tell you about stuff like that, okay? This is their joy, okay? That's why they work in a fly shop, because they love fly fishing, and if they can tell you something, they will tell you something. So they'll say, well, what's real big in this area is this kind of fly and that kind of fly, and the isonychia are hatching right now. And then they'll take you over to the bin and show you what sizes to get. So after a while, what you'll do is you'll start to build your fly boxes with these specific kinds of flies for different rivers and different times of the year. Now in Michigan, and I always talk about Michigan because that's what I'm most familiar with, the bugs hatch at certain times. And there's what are called hatch guides, and you can find those. You can find them online if you want to. And basically, they'll tell you, in early spring, April, May, you're going to see blue wing olives. Then in June, you're going to see this. And then in August, you're going to see this. So if you follow those hatch guides, it will also give you an idea of what are the most what are the bugs that are on the water that the fish will probably be eating at that time. Okay? It's not super difficult. After a while, you know, your fly boxes will be crammed with just all kinds of crazy stuff. Most of these I don't even use, but I probably bought them at different fly shops. Because what'll eventually happen is there'll be a few flies that you'll really have confidence in and that you'll use all the time. And you know, I've been fishing a long time, and I still use hare's ear nymphs for a nymph, caddises for dries, some prince nymphs here, some other random other nymphs, and then there's a couple other just random flies here, and then these spiders and woolly buggers. And then on occasion, there's a couple weeks in August that white flies we have in Michigan here. We have an Ephron Lucan, which is a little white fly that hatches in prolific numbers right at dusk, but it's only for a few weeks. So that's what those little white ones are for. And then I have blue wing olives for early in the spring. And sometimes in the morning, sometimes you get morning, there'll be some blue wing olives. So really, not much more than that. So a small fly box is all you need. I would get a second fly box just to put all the new flies you get. But a small fly box, always have them on some kind of lanyard of some sort so you can put them around your neck or tie them to yourself. Everything has to be, that's the other rule. Everything has to be attached to you. I just lost my very, very favorite straw hat in the river the other day, and I'm torn up about it. So next time I get a big straw hat, it's going to have a neck strap. But your fly boxes should be somehow attached to if you're carrying a pack. You don't need a vest right away. I use a little sling pack. It's not even a fishing sling pack. It's just a little sling pack. That's really all you need when you're going fishing. A lot of people just have their I got glasses in there. They've got their fly box in here, their lanyard around their neck, and I'm ready to go fishing. And that's all there is to it. So there you go. That's my quick and dirty for you new folks, what to do. Okay? Go ahead and spend money. If you got the money, spend it. Okay? I don't want to say not to, but don't get crazy right away. Figure out what you're doing. Practice. Go to places where there's lots of fish. Again, warm rivers are great because bass and bluegill are very forgiving to you. And that's something that you want to take advantage of. But trout are still there too. Always catch a few trout. So there you go. Thanks a lot. I hope you keep watching. I'm so excited. I'm over 4,000 subscribers now. And I love the comments. So feel free to ask comments. I try to answer them if they're a question. Sometimes I don't even know what they are. But I do answer questions, and I'm glad to go back and forth if you have any questions. All right? So we'll see you very soon.